I went back and forth on this one. What's the most important story? Brian Stelter's been canned by CNN. He's leaving the company. His show is done. And everybody's laughing because he's the epitome of an establishment shill. But I still think Donald Trump takes the cake with his fulfillment of the Babylon Bee prophecy. Donald Trump quite literally endorsed several Democrats. They're pissed, but the opponents of these individuals are playing it up like Trump's endorsements are real. Al Jazeera reports. Why did Trump endorse the Democrat who led the impeachment probe? Trump accused of meddling and trying to fool voters in election that will decide Democratic candidate for Congress. It ain't Trump. Trump can make a joke. He can say whatever he wants. This man is hilarious. He's literally the funniest politician we have because he's not really a politician. But one of the opponents for this individual is now playing up the fact that Donald Trump endorsed this guy and people are pissed. They're like, he's lying. Don't play these games. But that's all it takes. Now, here's why it's funny. Donald Trump endorsed the Democrat who led the impeachment probe. It's funny because the Babylon Bee wrote November 18th, 2019, ingenious move. Trump supports impeachment, forcing Democrats to oppose. Did you know the satirical website, the Babylon Bee, has an ongoing list of stories they've written that have turned out to be true? And not that they turned out to be true, but that they ended up happening. Okay. To be fair, in this story, Donald Trump could have seen the story from the Babylon Bee and then acted upon it. But most of their stories are like things just happened. They write something satirical and then it ends up actually happening because we live in a clown world. We live in some kind of simulation. It can't possibly be this way. You got to read these endorsements and you got to see the political consequences here because it is quite funny. But there is a big story still. The Washington Post is writing how MAGA has shut out the media and the public. Oh, no. The people who lie, cheat, and steal when it comes to stories, smear the president, smear everybody, smear merchants, as they're called, are angry that no one's giving them access anymore. And I've been saying this. Stop giving interviews to these people. They're going to lie. They're going to manipulate what you say, and there's nothing you can do about it. Donald Trump gets it. MAGA gets it. And the media has one thing, access. No, I should take that back. It's unfair to say Donald Trump gets it because for some reason he still does interviews with these people. But he gets it in the sense that he's repeatedly called them out. He's called them fake news. He led the charge in that regard. To that extent, I think he needs to stop giving these people interviews. And he should have got off Twitter a long time ago, forcing the media to chase him to one of these other platforms. But now we have the Brian Stelter story. The man has been fired. CNN is saying, no, we're changing this. The memes that are coming out are absolutely hilarious. Now, in terms of the media, something else interesting. Alex Jones is backing Ron DeSantis. That'll be interesting. Look, a lot of people want to play this game where they think the establishment is all powerful. They're not. There's a lot of people who want to claim there's a grand conspiracy and there's a cabal running the world. Bro, there may be plots behind the scenes from nefarious and malicious actors. I guarantee you there are. We've exposed many of them over in the history of the United States, but they're not as powerful as you think. And they're scared of a man like Donald Trump. And they are scared that they are losing power. And the machine is falling apart. Donald Trump's ability to game the media, even to this day, proves it. And it's quite hilarious. And now we're seeing, what remarkably, the Democrats are losing minority voters. They're becoming a party of rich white people. I mean, they've always kind of been. They've always masqueraded as being this party of the working class, diverse ethnic group or whatever. But they're losing whatever claim they had in that regard. Let's take a look at what's going on with Donald Trump's epic troll of the Democratic Party. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com and become a member to support our work and get access to all of our shows. Big news coming next week on the 20th, next Friday. We will be releasing Timcast Records' first single. Technically, it's not. I mean, technically, Will of the People was, but we didn't really have any label or anything. Now we actually have a bunch of songs lined up. We're going to be signing bands. We're going to be expanding our music offerings. And we have a song coming out called Only Ever Wanted. We got the ads up in Times Square already. As a member, you are helping us to engage in culture. Now, this song that's coming out, it's not political in any respect. It is a regular old song. I don't really know what genre it is. It's rooted in rock and pop, I guess. But the idea is, along with, Tales from the Inverted World, our goal is to build culture to compete directly with and displace big networks like Disney and Netflix. Now, you may say that I am a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. All right. The Daily Wire is doing similar things. With your support, we are going to make content, just content. That way, people who are not politically active or don't know will be drawn to our platforms where we will have massive influence to share real news and truth, unlike the garbage that is CNN. Consider supporting over at timcast.com. Check out our After Hours Uncensored shows. Cast Castle vlog is good fun. Let's get into that first story. Al Jazeera reports former U.S. President Donald Trump, a Republican, has released a pair of surprise endorsements for the upcoming midterm elections, lavishing praise ahead of the Democratic primaries in New York on two Democratic candidates central to his first impeachment by Congress. The endorsements represented a stark about-face for Trump, who just days earlier had unleashed a scathing invective against one of the candidates, lawyer Dan Goldman, who was lead counsel in the Democrat-led House impeachment of Trump from 2019 to 2020. Now, Trump, in a post on his social media site Truth Social on Wednesday, called him honorable, fair, and highly intelligent. He also endorsed Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, who is currently leading a House Oversight Committee investigation into Trump's alleged storing of classified documents at the Mar-a-Lago estate, saying she will never let our conservative movement down. Trump has repeatedly dismissed the myriad of congressional investigations into his conduct as part of a coordinated witch hunt. The endorsements, which many social media users quickly dismissed as trolling, appeared to underscore a unique tactic employed heavily ahead of this year's U.S. primary, which is the elections used by political parties in states and territories across the U.S. to select their candidates ahead of federal, legislative, and presidential, as well as state-level general elections. Here's what Democrats did. Donald Trump is responding to Democrats propping up the messages of Trump-supporting candidates. Their strategy is by running commercials that favor Trump's endorsed candidates, they can make it, they believe the MAGA candidates won't win, so they're trying to decide who in the primary actually wins. Let me show you Donald Trump's Truth Social. Truth Social just got totally dominated by reporting about Brian Stelter. Can I not pull up Brian Stelter? I just had it here. Apparently I can't. All right, there we go. We got Donald Trump right here. We got Donald Trump. Where are those endorsements? Where are the, let's scroll down here. And here we go. Donald Trump said, lawyer Dan Goldman is running for Congress, New York 10th, and it is my great honor to strongly endorse him. I do this not because of the fact that he headed up the impeachment committee and lost, but because he was honorable, fair, and highly intelligent. While it was my honor to beat him, and beat him badly, Dan Goldman has a wonderful future ahead. He will be very compassionate and compromising to those within the Republican Party and will do everything possible to make sure they have a fair chance at winning against radical left Democrats, who he knows are destroying our country. I would like to thank Dan for fighting so hard for America and for working so tirelessly to stop Trump. He was not easy to beat, but winning against him made me realize just how very talented I am. Okay, he's clearly trolling, but it's masterful. Donald Trump, man, he's a guy, huh? He is one heck of a guy. I'll put it that way. On Twitter, I said, I love this man. I love the trolling. I love the memes. Donald Trump truthed. That's what it's called, truthing on his platform. A vote for Carolyn Maloney in New York 12 is a vote for the future. She is a kind and wonderful person who has always said terrific things about me and will support me no matter what I do, just as I supported her very early on. She begged for a check with no quid pro quo, and I gave it to her. In fact, I gave her many. On the other hand, Jerry Nadler is likewise a hard-driving man of the people whose energy and attention to detail is unlike anyone else in Congress. He is high energy, sharp, quick-witted, and bright. You can't go wrong with either. But Carolyn Maloney is the better man. Brilliant, Trump. She will lead our country into a very green and prosperous future. Carolyn has my complete and total endorsement. She will never let our conservative movement down. Amazing. We now have this tweet from verified Yalin Nyo. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. New York State Assembly member, candidate for Congress, New York 10. She is running against Dan Goldman. In response to the endorsement, Yalin says, Donald Trump just endorsed my multi-millionaire opponent in case you needed a reminder of what the stakes are. New York 10, choose your fighter. Ah! Of course they took the bait. I know this woman knows Trump is trolling, but she can't help herself. Donald Trump knows she can't help herself. Donald Trump knows the media can't help itself. That if he throws them the bait, they don't care. They'll run with it. Who in the Democratic Party would give up the opportunity to say that their opponent is supported by Donald Trump? It has been their entire strategy. Donald Trump, meet 4D chess. When the Democrats started propping up the message of Trump-supported Republicans, the goal was to taint them, saying, look at the things they support. What did the Governors Association, the Democrats Governors Association, put like $1 million into one guy? They're doing it all over. The idea being MAGA candidates can't win, and they will taint the general election by promoting these ideas. Donald Trump knows the Democrats are terrified of him. And he said, okay, you want to prop up my opponents thinking I'm going to smear them? I'll endorse you. And look what happened already. A Democrat is acting like it's real. These people are predictable, remarkable. The state of politics in this country is a flaming dumpster. And Donald Trump gets it. And he is the king of the flaming dumpster. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. The dude knows exactly what's going on. And he pokes the bear and he prods at it. Now, for one, I think Donald Trump is worthy of tremendous criticism, but I think he's the best chance we got moving forward for a lot of reasons. That is not to dismiss Ron DeSantis. Now, I go back and forth between the two, and I'll tell you this. Ron DeSantis, he's younger. He's got energy. He's proven he's going to do a lot of great things. He fired that Soros prosecutor, suspended him. Now he's getting sued over it. I like it. But I don't know if Ron DeSantis is going to go in and clean up with Schedule F like Donald Trump will. Trump is going to fire all these guys. Now, there's also the equal point that he didn't the first time when he said he was going to do it. And Ron DeSantis did fire that other guy, so maybe Ron DeSantis is a better bet. I think for a lot of reasons, Donald Trump is deserving of another term. And I'm not so sure where I'm going to fall when it comes to a primary in 2023 between Trump or DeSantis. What I can say is no new wars under Trump. And that's very, very important to me. Peace in the Middle East, these peace agreements that Trump was bringing about, I vote for that. Firing people and give me that, I vote for that. Ron DeSantis can do a lot of stuff challenging wokeness and running the economy well, and that's great, but that's like a VP thing for me right now. I've said before, I said in April that I was leaning towards DeSantis over Trump for a variety of reasons. I don't know where I'm going to end up. And I don't want to keep saying one or the other. Right now, it's tough. There's a lot of good reasons to vote for DeSantis. In response to Yalin Nyo, I'm trying to pronounce her name right, tweeting this, many people are like, take it down now. Be more like this guy. One guy says, it's funny, but we're not going to be distracted. I'm not surprised that a New York State Assembly maker candidate is, acting like it's real. She's got pronouns in her bio. She, her, hers. Well, here's the story from 2019. The prophecy has come true. Ingenious move, Trump supports impeachment, forcing Democrats to oppose. That was the gag. The gag was that no matter what Trump does, the Democrats would oppose it. So fine, he supports impeachment and they'll be forced to say, no, it's wrong. No, we can't do it. This was a gag. But Trump actually just endorsed the guy who led the impeachment. And the Democrats, they're buying it. Not all of them, obviously, but some of them are taking the bait. The Babylon Bee satirically wrote, the impeachment hearings have been thrown into chaos after President Trump announced that he supports impeachment, forcing Democrats to impose their own impeachment inquiry. Impeachment, I'm for it. Great idea. Best idea maybe ever, he said, adding that he's getting kind of sick of all this winning anyway. Sure, why not? Impeach me. I love it. Whatever. Now I'm going to go watch Joker again. Great film. What's that guy's name? Phoenix something. Bob Phoenix. That's it. Tremendous actor. Absolutely perfect. Democrats quickly condemned his statements, saying it's clear that Trump wants to be impeached because he's not good at being president. Well, we're going to show him a thing or two by forcing him to stay in the White House and finish out his term. And Joker is alt-right propaganda, she said, falling for Trump's ploy to make Dems condemn one of the most successful, beloved films of the year. Joker was amazing, by the way. One pundit on CNN suggested that Trump is supporting impeachment at the request of Putin, or the guy from Ukraine, or whichever conspiracy thing we're pushing this month, I forget. At publishing time, Democrats had also withdrawn from the 2020 race to teach Trump a lesson. The prophecies are being fulfilled. It's absolutely amazing stuff. Bravo. Here's what I love. Let's go on to the state of humor in today. I definitely got to talk about CNN and Brian Stelter and the media complaining about a loss of access. But Andrew Yang tweets, Liz Cheney is going to be a problem for Trump through 2024. Boy, Andrew, you are so wrong on this one. In response, one individual said, she should run as a libertarian and would get enough votes so we actually get 3 major parties in the USA. That way she has changed the USA forever. My friends, when I saw this response to Andrew Yang, I couldn't laugh. It was too funny. It was so funny that I entered another universe, a psychedelic state of pure humor. I have seen the other side. I did laugh. Someone believing that Liz Cheney would generate tons of libertarian votes. Are you mad? Liz Cheney is the antithesis of the Libertarian Party. And not just the Libertarian Party, the Mises Caucus. I tweeted, if you think Liz Cheney could even get 0.01% of the vote, I got a bridge to sell you. And in response, people said, as a card-carrying member of the Libertarian Party, 0.01% is too generous. You're right. Yo, Liz Cheney is not going to be a problem for Trump. If she runs in 2024, she's going to get Democrat votes. She'll help Donald Trump. You know why? There have been Republicans who've left the party and they went Democrat. They'll vote for her. Ain't hurting Trump. Trump's base ain't going to be walking away from him. Now, with that being said, there is this possibility. Alex Jones backs a possible DeSantis bid over Trump. And Alex Jones is a deeply influential man. The Hill says Alex Jones on Wednesday said he'd support a 2024 bid from Governor Ron DeSantis turning his back on Trump. With that, he said he pig-headedly supported Trump in the past to keep him in office because of the nightmare scenario if Hillary or Biden got in. With that, I am supporting DeSantis, Jones said. Trump and DeSantis have topped recent polling. In fact, PredictIt right now has DeSantis winning. The prediction markets believe DeSantis will be the nominee, not Trump. And they go to mention a bunch of stuff. DeSantis knocked the FBI for the search against Trump, which he has alleged was politically motivated. The turn away from Trump comes the same day that a Florida prosecutor sued DeSantis, alleging the Florida governor had suspended him due to his views on transgender surgery and abortion. Well, because he wasn't upholding the law. But let's take a look at what's happening to the Democratic Party. It's falling apart. I don't know if it's going to be DeSantis or Trump. I can tell you this. It ain't going to be the Democrats. Not the B, because they actually have some real news. Oh, and they're NewsGuard certified. Look at that. NewsGuard says not the B is actually credible. Maintains their basic standards of credibility with some exceptions. The Democrat Hispanic exodus is game-changing. You betcha. Take a look at this CBS poll they highlight. Among Hispanic voters, it is a statistical tie between Democrat and Republican. They write, yes, Democrats are still winning the Hispanic vote, but their lead is now within the poll's margin of error, making it a statistical tie. Such numbers are almost unthinkable considering that just 4 years ago, Hispanic voters broke for Democrats at a gargantuan 40-point differential. Regardless of your political loyalties, a 37-point shift in voter sentiment in 4 years is jaw-dropping. So what caused it? I appreciate the remark of one Hispanic public relations exec who recently commented on the seismic shift that when it came to his racial demographic, no somos woke. To be sure, this is more than just being compared to breakfast tacos in San Antonio by the First Lady. It's more than having a nonsense label like Latinx slapped on you despite no one having any idea what it means. This is about a culture crusade by progressives that stokes division and exacerbates racial unrest. Who would possibly be enticed by such a movement? Now, from my seat, it doesn't end with the woke nonsense. More than a few commentators have observed the modern Democrat Party's supersonic slide into radical abortion politics, a historically pro-life demographic undoubtedly part and parcel of their strong Catholic traditions. Most Hispanics have been appalled to watch Democrats' messaging on the subject go from safe, legal, and rare to shout your abortion. Josh Kroshar tweeted, another eye-popping poll nugget showing the disconnect between the Democratic activists and Hispanic voters. By 66 to 28%, strong progressives say America is not the greatest country in the world. By 70 to 23, Hispanics say the reverse. I'll tell you this, my friends. Donald Trump took a picture of himself eating a taco bowl saying he loved Mexicans or something like that. Hispanic voters, they're patriots. They are true Americans. And they have been. Now, of course, there are issues with illegal immigration, but guess what? This is why they're mad. It's why the Rio Grande Valley in southern Texas switched Republican, because these people want immigration legally, like Donald Trump said, not open borders like Democrats are doing. Don't believe me? Take a look at this story from the Daily Mail. Unbelievable. Border Patrol agents open the gates at Crossing Point, letting in illegal immigrants at the southern border moments after Greg Abbott's Texas National Guard had locked them. This is absolutely insane. Federal agents opened up the gates to allow illegal immigrants to walk on through. Does Texas not have sovereignty on its borders? So what happens? Well, in the Rio Grande Valley, in southern Texas, you have a lot of Hispanic voters, and they don't like it when there are cartels, coyotes, traffickers coming onto their property. And they're begging for some security, but Joe Biden is spitting in their faces. And so they say enough. This is big. I don't know what's going to happen come November because a lot of these changes are unprecedented, but something is coming. And especially with Donald Trump's endorsement of Democrats, we'll see what actually happens. It may work. These are establishment Democrats. People might look at that and say, see, Donald Trump is establishment and he's supporting them. You can't vote for him. It's going to help the progressives. That's why they're leaning into it. Take a look at this. From the Washington Post, MAGA Republicans shut out the media and the public by the editorial board. I do want to make sure I issue a clarification. I want to make sure here. I'm not entirely sure Yalene Nyo is actually running as a Democrat. She may be running against this guy. She does have pronouns in her bio, but she could be running as a progressive or something. And I just want to make sure that's clear because it doesn't say that in her bio that she is a Democrat. But she's a New York State Assembly member. And you know what? Actually, maybe she has this in her other profile. I don't know. I want to be careful if she's not actually a Democrat. I just want to make sure that's clear, so that I do my best to make sure we get things factually accurate. The Washington Post says MAGA Republicans shut out the media and the public. Journalists across the U.S. find themselves increasingly shut out of political events they would have routinely and easily covered in previous cycles. Candidates have been trying to bypass mainstream media scrutiny for generations. Most politicians prefer to engage with ideologically friendly outlets such as Fox News or MSNBC, but in recent election cycles, campaigns have generally scheduled fewer, yet more scripted public events. More often than before, newsworthy gatherings are not announced ahead of time, and reporters only find out they occurred when pictures get posted to social media or a news release is sent out later. For traditional outlets, interviews with many candidates have become harder to secure. Some campaigns don't even return calls or emails. Hey, I got to tell you, man, we've actually had trouble getting Timcast, sending our reporter, into some Trump rallies. Mostly because they're full. But, and then what happens is I have to make a phone call and be like, hey, our reporter's trying to come and cover your rally. And they go, oh, okay, we'll let him in. Like, if you're calling, I'm actually not cool with that. If a reporter wants to cover the event, you should just typically let him do it unless you know specifically this reporter is a liar. Generally, I'd say give the reporter a chance, but this is the reality. The media has one play, and that play is access. Stop giving it to them. Ignore them. Shut them down. And then they have nothing. Give only your interviews to news outlets that you believe are honest. And that doesn't mean they won't criticize you, but at least they will be honest. I'd love to see a real critique of DeSantis. Okay, let's come out and talk about BDS. Ron DeSantis opposes it, and there are questions about his commitment to free speech because there are people in Florida that want to boycott, divest, and sanction Israel. And I don't want to get into the full details because I don't have the details pulled up and I'll probably get it wrong. But there's questions in that regard. I'm not saying I'm here to criticize him on that capacity or in that circumstance, but that you can sit down with the guy and say, what do you say to critics who would say these things? Let him say his piece. Okay, we get it. There you go. Ah, yes. And here we are. Brian Stelter out at CNN as network cancels media show reliable sources. Oh, it's sad to see, huh? Sad to see. Stelrers, says Fox News, as a typo, reliable sources has been canned. CNN is parting ways with the reliable sources host and media pundit Brian Stelter with his last show airing Sunday. CNN will end its reliable sources program on Sunday, August 21st. As a result, Brian Stelter will leave the company. We appreciate his contributions to the network and wish him well as he embarks on new endeavors. This dude is one of the worst. Brian Stelter was the epitome of saying whatever Democrats needed someone to say. So what's a good example? There have been several stories. He comes out and he says, don't watch Fox News. Their propaganda, only watch us. Your propaganda, bro. You know what I say to people? Watch them both. Watch CNN, watch Fox News, then you decide. Hey, that's the way it's supposed to be. That's called journalism. Instead, what do we get? NBC, for instance, they are largely activists. Brian Stelter, sophist, shill, propagandist. Which brings me to one of the craziest stories of the day. We'll wrap up on this one. Breaking. Sam Harris admits the censorship of Hunter Biden's laptop was a conspiracy to help Biden, and he stands by it. Well, that's insane. What an absurd notion. Now, we know that Twitter and Facebook did suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story, and it did hurt Trump. But to imply it was a conspiracy? No, I mean, I got to be completely honest. Sam Harris is basically saying like they intentionally colluded behind the scenes, saying like, this story's real. Quick, we better not let anyone see it. I don't think it was that overt. I'm sorry. I really don't. I'm sure there were probably people in the Biden circle who were saying things to that capacity, like, oh, this laptop's bad. We better, quash this, because that's just called PR. But with these big tech companies, what it is it's worse. I don't like conspiracies because I kind of feel like conspiracies let too many people off the hook. And I mean it. I really do. I know a lot of people want to believe that behind the scenes, powerful interests went to Twitter and said, this will be bad for our campaign. Pull the story. And they all went, Mwahaha. The reality is it's a cult. It is a cult. It's worse. What you have were the people working at Twitter being like, the media is saying it's fake news. We better take it down. It's emergent, not conspiratorial. I know a lot of people don't want to believe it. There are conspiracies. There are bad people. But my point is this. When the media lies because they are agenda driven, the big tech companies panic and just do as they're told. It's not a cabal meeting underground deciding on what coverage is or isn't allowed. They don't have that much power. They are, however, in a cult where they will suppress stories. If the media says it's fake news, they'll say, whatever you say, we don't care. It's great cover. Now, that being said, we do know the White House got Alex Berenson banned. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying that until they come out and show me that it happened, it's actually worse for them when that it's an emergent cult phenomenon and not coordinated. So the story, for those that didn't hear, Alex Berenson sued Twitter because the White House sought his banning and Twitter followed through. Now that is a conspiracy, and that is illegal. It's a violation of 1A. This story's crazy. Sam Harris, influential podcaster, wealthy individual, said, quote, Hunter literally could have had the corpses of children in his basement. I would not have cared. He went on to say that it was a conspiracy to help. He says, quote, it was a conspiracy out in the open, but it doesn't matter if it was. This is crazy. Let me read. He said, quote, we could just go down that rabbit hole endlessly and understand that he's getting kickbacks from Hunter Biden's deal in Ukraine or whatever else, right? Or China. It's infinitesimal compared to the corruption we know Trump is involved in. Like what, Sam? Sam, what? Like what? He said, it's like a firefly to the sun, right? I mean, like it doesn't even stack up against Trump University, right? Trump University as a story is worse than anything that could be in Hunter Biden's laptop, in my view, right? You're insane, Sam. Trump University? That he was trying to get people to give him money to get accredited or learn something? That's nothing compared to Hunter Biden flying his son on Air Force Two to China for private equity deals. It's nothing compared to the quid pro quo with Ukraine. Our country is being trampled over. Donald Trump, assuming the university story is real, defrauded some people. Is that the claim? Joe Biden is exploiting us directly, the entire country and the world. Lunacy. He said, now that doesn't answer the people who say it's still completely unfair to not have looked at the laptop in a timely way and to have shut it down, but like the New York Post shut down the New York Post Twitter account. That's just a conspiracy. That's a left-wing conspiracy to deny the presidency to Donald Trump. Absolutely it was. Absolutely, right? But I think it was warranted, right? The hosts pressed Harris on the comment. And then Sam went, he said, imagine there's an asteroid heading towards Earth. If people meet to try and deflect it, that's not a conspiracy. It's a plan out in the open. Insane. The level of Trump derangement syndrome. Sam Harris is one of the most zealous and insane people I've ever heard for a long time. You know, he would come out and talk about religion and how religions are crazy. And I've never been a big fan of Harris because he holds within his heart the exact same zealotry. It's rather humorous when he's like, I am sick of these fundamentalist religions and how they behave. And you're like, well, that's really interesting. I agree. You know, fundamentalist zealotry is a bad thing. Now, Donald Trump recently came out. Oh, Donald Trump, he's worse than a meteor coming towards Earth. No matter what he's doing, we are you insane, bro? You are the exact zealotry of dogma. You're an arrogant man who doesn't even know what he's talking about, hasn't researched these stories, and Trump University is the best you could muster up. Don't you know anything about the Qatar Turkey pipeline, Burisma, Joe Biden's brother's contracts in Iraq? Do you even read, bro? Biden Inc., Politico magazine, the strange fortunes that follow alongside Joe Biden's career and as a boon to his family, how strange these things could have occurred. Oh, but Donald Trump, Trump University. Bro, you want to come to me and tell me that Donald Trump is corrupt? I'll be like, okay. You want to come to me and be like, oh, the CFO or whatever from his organization is pleading guilty to fraud? I'll be like, yeah, I'm not surprised about that. You want to claim that these things are anywhere near the severity of Joe Biden as the vice president in an administration that killed American citizens with drone strikes. Oh, but Donald Trump, the Trump University. Okay, investigate him, indict him, whatever, I don't care. But to dismiss and prop up the corruption of the bureaucratic state is indefensible. Donald Trump is a madman, good and bad ways. And he's endorsing Democrats, and it's funny. I don't think Trump's all that bad. I think Trump's done things that are you can criticize. Absolutely. Promoting Trump properties on State Department website, that happened. That's stupid. But come on. It's the stuff where you're like, dude, Trump, stop, please. You know, he wanted to have the G7 at Trump Doral, and then he backed off because people told him it was corrupt. He was like, fine, I won't do it. Well, there you go. Hunter Biden? Pfft, get out of here, man. I'll leave it there. Next segment is coming up at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.